Good YouTube. So back for a second time. Let's go ahead and get the camera back in this holster. Apologize for the little interference right there. So yeah, we're gonna get right back into it. I arrived at my receiver here in Jacksonville and decided to go ahead and review the video that I had just taken and whatever. I tried it out, listened to the audio. I liked the audio. It came across well. A little bit hard to understand at times, but I've always been a fast talker, and sometimes I blur my sentences. They kind of merge into one another. So bear with me with that. But I decided to go ahead and jump right back into it. There were two elephants in the room that I wanted to address right out the gate. First one being my name, as I mentioned in the last video, that my name obviously Oral James, and didn't want to have any issues kind of with that. With people thinking that I just came up with this this wild name of all the names to think of to choose to name yourself as a title for your that's what you come up with. My name also is Duke, which is my nickname. Just as my parents named me Oral James when I was younger. They also gave me the nickname of Duke at the same time. So all of my family and friends, people close to me, they call me Duke. Actually, the only people that really call me Oral is schoolmates, people like that were just kind of like that, in a school and stuff like that. But all my personal friends, people I grew up with, they call me Duke anyway. So, but there was already 100 Dukes on YouTube and social media and everywhere. So I decided just how many orals are you gonna find? You know what I mean? So I went ahead and just stuck with my name. Um, Now the second again thing I wanted to address, which is going to be a little bit more controversial. This topic is going to be a topic that's going to kind of weed out the people that are here actually, or people who may become a potential subscriber or potential fan of mine, and or from those that are just trolls and people who they just want to have something to talk about. Here again, things that I can't understand, that I don't be able to or can articulate. I don't really pay attention to it. No shade, no disrespect to any other, ethnicities or things like that. But it's like if I was to turn on like kung fu or something on TV, or an Asian movie, even some Latin movies, I don't understand the language. So because I'm not familiar with it, I may look and gracefully, turn the channel. I'm not. So hey, same thing goes here. If you're not familiar, if you can't articulate, if you can't ride with or be down with or understand, just go ahead and move on to the next channel. So this part here is a whole lot more controversial, it's a whole lot more personal, and it's a huge leap. It's a leap that took me 40 something years. I'm in my late 40s to get to this point. Um, but it needs to be mentioned and it needs to be addressed, because there are millions of people, maybe even billions. There's about 8 billion people in the world. Don't quote me on that, but it's a lot. Maybe even a billion people that's suffering in silence about this particular topic. Um, and here again, this is only my perspective. It's based solely. This is my opinion. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a viewpoint. So I'm not speaking for anyone but myself. Again, because not only am I a truck driver, I'm a musician by the same name, Oral James. If you look on YouTube or look on iTunes or Amazon or Pandora, whatever, Google some Oral James in one of those music files. Not so much on YouTube, but that's just YouTube music. But I'm in some of those platforms. I have a few songs that I put out. But because I'm a musician as well, passionate about it, I found myself frequenting certain uh, certain social media channels that cater to a lot of the urban culture or urban people, and it saddened me to hear some of the topics and some of the viewpoints um that some of those channels, those people, share. I think it's a little bit unfortunate. I think it's a little bit unintelligent. I think it's a little bit reckless. However, I agree that sometimes certain things can be taken to the extreme, and it can be a little bit too much. Uh, so without lingering a little bit too long, what am I talking about here? What I'm talking about is about 6 months out of the year, I'm a straight heterosexual male. The other 6 months out of the year, not so much. I'm pretty sure you can go ahead and assume what I'm talking about. Now, let's go all the way back to the late 70s when I first became who I am. I can remember as far back, when I was like 4 years old, having certain feelings and having certain thoughts that were abnormal that I would believe. So much so until I often wonder why I had those thoughts or experienced or expressed those certain behaviors because as a 4 year old, certain things that I were attempting to engage in or attempting to do, you would assume that only someone who's been exposed to certain things would be trying to reenact or be involved in certain things. Now, for a little brief context, my mother passed away when I was 4 years old. I was 4 years old. The male figure at that time, again, had been in prison since I was 2 years old. So there were another man around that from two to whatever. This particular man, I'm not going to say did anything. I don't know. I have zero memories of stuff like that. I don't even remember my mom's face. I remember maybe a couple instances back when I was around 4. Southside Baton Rouge. Grew up on California Street. That's right off of East Washington Street, between East Washington Street and Highland Road. My grandmother lived on East Washington Street up until her death when she was in her 80s or something. So that's where I'm from, the bottom, South Baton Rouge, born and raised. Um, I don't have really memories of my mom like that. The male figure, again, he was in the prison doing a 10-year sentence. Came home when I was 9. So we moved in with my grandmother. And when my mom passed away, and around that time is when I first experienced a couple like thoughts of certain things that was abnormal. I would think that a child would be looking to express certain things at that young age. However, I remember when I was around 6 years old, the man that had been around my mom since when my father went to prison. I remember when I was about 6, my grandmother allowed me and my older brother, who's 6 years older than me, to go, visit this guy who stayed right up the street. And I remember this guy had porn on. Now, I'm a 6 year old, my brother 12, and he's just an older guy. He allowing us to watch porn. That was a little bit bizarre. So it led me to believe that it's possible that when I was around 2 and 3, follow me, when I was, when my mom was still alive, that this guy may have been watching porn or stuff like that. And the kids, you subconsciously remembering certain things, and you're acting out, reliving certain things, right? So, but I could just remember that as far back as I can remember, I remember being different. I remember when I was around 12. Now, fast forward, my dad got out of jail when I was 9, and he immediately come and get us. I got four. It was 4 siblings at the time. It was me, older brother, older sister, and a sister that's a year older than I am. So it was 4 of us at the time. That's my solid base family. There was step brother, step sister that came later when my father got out of prison. When the male figure got out of prison. So to try to stay on topic a little bit, I just want to throw this part in as a little, side note that when my mom passed away when I was 4, my grandmother had three kids living at two kids living at home at the time. My uncle Albert and my aunt Hilda. So she now have four kids that she have to look after. So at the time she wasn't as nurturing. She wasn't as nice. She wasn't as kind. I have zero memories post my mother's death of any woman, any person loving me, hugging me, telling me they love me, giving me a kiss. I have zero memories from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to my father got out of prison of me lying on my on the couch under my grandmother. And I mean it was quite the contrary, quite the opposite. It was just sit your little ugly self down. My grandfather would, her husband at the time would offer, certain little meals, little bitables, or things that he may have been snacking on. And I would look over at her first, and then she would go ahead and get it. You little hungry, so you want it. So it was just real blunt. And these are things from a child, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that you're when your brain is still developing. So these are imprints, things that's being tattooed into your psyche. Low self-esteem, keeping your head down, feeling like you're not worthy, things like that, and feeling angry and aggressive and stuff like that. So when my father got out of prison at 9, he immediately come in with the street etiquette, the street code, right? He'd been in prison, so he's a wily vet at this time. So all of my uncles, his brothers, all of my cousins, older and younger, what I mean, they street. So that's the energy that's being now promoted and being, put over me and my brothers and stuff like that. So although I'm this little kind, sweet little boy, right? I have all of this other energy now that's being introduced from 4 years old and upwards now. Everything around me, although I'm free in the free world, around my father now, it's almost as if I'm in prison because all of the guys that's coming around, they all jailhouse affiliate. You know what I mean? They're aggression. So you immediately conform and become a product of your environment just by association, just by understanding, just by paying attention, just by listening. So you immediately feel as if, nope, this is not the place. This is not the environment for you to really be yourself. No one around you is really promoting that. No one is being nice, being kind, being this, being that, being smart. All the things that I was, I immediately had to put that on the back burner and just become a whole different person. Now, over the years, now being in those environments, you're feeling as if you can never really express yourself, never be yourself. You have to hide that. It's just not acceptable. You're in a church, stuff like that. People speaking negative on different things. Now I'm only mentioning this stuff because I spent a lot of years, just struggling and just going through just being a heavy drinker and stuff like that from when I was younger. My father probably gave me a beer or so when I was like 12, stuff like that. Just so I just grew up with that taste in my mouth. So just running from the person that I was, and I was angry. And see, I feel like a lot of people these days, male and female, I think that a lot of their anger comes from them not necessarily being able to express themselves in the way that they would like. Imagine being someone else. Imagine being a man who like men or a woman who like women, but you've been forced into marriages or situations or relationships with people because your family won't accept you or your job won't approve of it, or just your community as a whole won't allow you to be yourself. Man, that's a different kind of rage. That's a different kind of anger that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, 365 days of a year, 24/7. You living as somebody else. You're an imposter in your own body. So yeah, I was angry. I was raging. I was a lot of things. I wanted to be like my brothers and my cousins, and I've experienced a lot of hellish things, things that you could never be around people and look at people the same. Like I could never be around a group of guys and just feel like it's all good. And I've been around a group of guys and guys were smiling and everything was seeming to be, on the up and up. And I knew what was going on at the same time. It was some lurkish, creepish, real street gangster stuff going on that I've experienced that I'm not even gonna get into all that. It's because it's irrelevant. But it just, it changes you. It's like going to war and experiencing death and bodies and all of the atrocities. There's a bar that Lil Wayne raps in one of his songs. Don't know what the song is, but it says something like, "I don't know what so and so is thinking, but I know how so and so think." The word is the N word. So I don't know what ninjas thinking, but I know how niggas how ninjas think, and and that's just what it is with me. So I'm around people. I've always been nervous. I've always been anxious around a lot of guys because I grew up in a danger zone, and I grew up around guys who were like people in my family, people around me that were like, the guys that people may consider to be the guys or the real goons in the city in Baton Rouge. People around me, like, we went and got them guys. Like, those are the guys that was like, yeah, or they went did it. You did what I'm saying? So it's like, experiencing certain stuff like that, you could never unsee it. Like, you could never be around people in your life and just feel like ever feel comfortable, because you realize that somebody always watching, man. Somebody may always try. How unfortunate it is to have to grow up and live like that and live in communities and environments like that where you don't feel safe, or you feel like someone may rob you or attack you or break in your home or things like that. Is very unfortunate. And I couldn't be further from that type of mind frame of or mind state these days in my life. I mean, complete total opposite. I'm more on the six other 6 months of the year I mentioned. I'm that, you know the two, what I'm saying, uh total opposite. So I'm more of the sensitive person these days as an approach to life. However, because I grew up with the real street gangster hard, no love from 4 years old, never from no woman, nobody, not even the male figure, never hugged me, never kissed me, never said I love you. You can make it, go for it, you can do it. None of that. You know what I mean? It's like, so that's what you see. That's what people see. People that wondered, I'm pretty sure over the years, I'm pretty sure people have seen the real me behind the mask, but wondered why I was always just so aggressive. Like, man, we know you sweet and tender like that, but why? What's up with the gun tote? What's up with all the gangster stuff? But I didn't even realize that I was see through, that I was transparent. I didn't realize. I was too busy trying to convince people that, man, I ain't the one to play with. And for the most part, I got that point across. My perspective now, though, is that I feel like it's a little reckless at times when I see people in some of these, some in the entertainment field. How they just want to always just dismiss people who don't align with their views, and feel like, oh, if you are this kind of person, then you must be, you bad. And it's just not always the case. It's not always black and white. Um, Being a homosexual or being gay isn't always the choice that you think it is. It's a choice to decide that I'm going to live my life as a straight person. But for most of us, it's not a choice to be whether you are or you aren't. There are people that are intersexed, and you need to do your research, Google stuff like that, because you wonder why sometimes people that seem to be hard as, and you like, it just doesn't make sense. But for me, I've experienced some things again here again, man, in my life, and I just wanted to address it from my own perspective, right? It's not easy to talk about because you putting yourself out there, you're being vulnerable. People that once knew you, family, friends, they're gonna be like, "What? Like, what? I can't believe that." But so it's not easy. It's not the easiest thing to talk about. I'm also not going to do much editing in any of these videos. So what you see is what you get. How I said is how I felt it. It may not always translate and come across the way that I want it to translate, or that I want it to come across. But if you listen closely, look closely, you should get the point. So for me, it was always a struggle. It was always a struggle trying to keep that particular person hidden, keep that particular person, out of view. So I would go around my family members all the time, and I would had this mug on my face, and I always seemed approachable and things like that. And friends and family and people always thought that I was crazy, and they would be like, "I wonder, why Duke always look mad or like he mean." And they didn't know or realize. Little did they know that I really needed their love. I really needed somebody to hug me and just say, "Man, it's okay, man. Just be yourself. Like, you don't have to, be this way." I was dying on the inside. I was just spiraling on the inside. And the reason why I had that hard disposition was because I didn't want nobody to question me about it. I didn't want nobody to ask me anything about it. I didn't want nobody to approaching me and be like, man, hold up, where you been at? Like, who you been around? Who you been, like, you know what I mean? So if I kept this hard exterior, then nobody would mess with me. They wouldn't pry into my business. So um there's probably a lot more I wanted to mention, but I've kind of gotten a little sidetracked. Here again, I'm at the shipper, things going on around me. But so I've kind of lost a few points. But I just basically just wanted to get that out the way. Again, like I say, a lot of time we spend our times around people and in environments and in situations with people that don't care about us, people that don't love us, people that, know that we are struggling with something and using it to their advantages. And that's just a hard life. Who want to be around people that don't believe in you, don't love you, don't respect you, don't want to see you thrive, and don't want to see you be great. And I feel like for that particular community, the gay community, the rainbow community that I'm a part of, that I love. And here again, like again, when I said that it was six and sixes because I actually love women. Like I have a young son, 7, 8 years old, will be eight this year. And I actually love women, like legitimately. Like it's not a fad, it's not a thing. It's the real deal. So
You have 8 hours and 0 minutes of remaining drive time.
sorry about that. It's the real thing. So it's just that I found that trying to be in the heterosexual world, the straight world, it just hadn't seemed to work. I hadn't seemed to really build the friendships, you know, the connections with people. I think people have really known for so long who I really was, so they just kind of already felt like, yeah, you coming in, you coming around us like that, man. Yeah, we know you faking, whatever. And it really wasn't a real fake. It really wasn't a ploy. Again, I love people. I love all people, man, women and women as well. So I don't want to again make this video too long. I just want to get that out the way so that in just in case there are people out there who looking for someone to talk to or share in the same kind of experiences in life or feel like they're alone. Here again, if you feel like you're alone and you're the only person that feel this way, no, you're not. And there's a lot of us out there. And every time, you see people that appear, some people who appear to be real angry and real mad, it's not always what you think. It's not always that they're crazy. A lot of times it's the people around them, the environments that's actually crazy. They realize that they have to almost become a chameleon, conform to the societal norms in order to fit in. So they appear crazy as well because a lot of crazy things are going on. And for me, that's just what it is. I was just like a chameleon. I just based it because everything around me, I felt like when I was around my father and then when I was younger, I felt like, though I was free, I almost felt like I was in a prison environment because all of the guys that was around at the time, like I said, all the partners in the hood, the guys in the neighborhood, the family members, the friends, the cousins, the uncles, they were all vets. They was all in prison. All had did long jail sentences in Angola prison. Got out, did 20 years. Still got a lot of. I still have a lot of cousins right now that been in Angola. One been in there for over 30 years. We was in jail together at 16. I came home and he went from that prison from the prison that we was in together and went straight to Angola and never been out since. Right. So I felt like though I was in a free world, I felt like I had to be this, I had to be that guy, man. I had to be street, I had to be gangster because everybody around me, that's how they was. You dig? So I never was able to really be myself. And now in my late 40s, I'm finally deciding just to, hey man, just to say, it's almost a cry for help in a sense, but not really. It's just to say that I'm tired of, you know, my blood pressure being high and stuff like that. Can't, have an issue with blood pressure in physicals because it's just this big gorilla, is this big monkey on your back. You've been carrying around all your life, trying to just be somebody else that you're just not, man. So just be yourself. So that's the other elephant in the room that I wanted to address that I mentioned in the first video. That was probably going to run people off. You can go ahead and change the channel. Go ahead and block the channel. Do not, whatever. Do not recommend channel. Go ahead and get that out of the way now. So if anyone reach out or if anybody subscribe to the channel, if you like the video, like it, subscribe to it, comment. And I know it'll be a real, it'll be a real fan. It'll be a real subscriber, a real supporter. As I will subscribe to your channel. We'll answer any comments. Anyone that's respectful. Any other ones, again, you can see the gray hair in my head. Zero tolerance for the BS. Immediately delete, block, whatever the case may be. Not even entertain it. Don't have to. But yeah though, and again, I mentioned earlier, with the name Oral James, find yourself, doing a little googling online and go through some of these music outlets or whatever. You may hear a song that you may like. Maybe we could do some music together, but nothing. Hip hop is gangster, nothing like that. Really not interested. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Go ahead and wrap it up. Been almost 30 minutes in this video right now. There probably going to be some points. There's something that I forgot to mention that I'm going to think about once I close this video out. So I'll just make another video at some other point, and then I'll just pick back up where I left off. I'll include those points to try to get my message home a little bit more, which was basically just be yourself, man, and everybody that you see um going through something or who looks like they angry or they mad or they dealing with stuff. It's not always what you think. People not always crazy. Stuff like that. They just may be dealing with some demons, some spirits, some stuff that just they can't or feel like they can't share with everybody. But it's a part of who we are. People are. I actually feel like I was actually born this way. I know people gonna have their own opinion. That's their opinion. But I actually feel like it's a part of my DNA. It's a part of who I am. I've seen some guys that look, they could be the masculinest guys around, but you can still see something feminine about them. Just as I've seen some women that just, you know, they could be the most feminine woman around, but they grow a little mustache. They look big hand. They look square shoulders. They look masculine. So I'm just saying, like sometimes it's just in you. It's just in who you are. It had nothing to do about a choice, someone choosing to be one or the other. It's just how they were raised. I mean, not how they were raised. It was just, in their DNA from birth. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out right now. But I think about some other things. I'll add them in the next video. So again, once again, everybody, stay safe. Try to be as positive as you could be, even in the midst of all of the shenanigans and the BS that we all out here experiencing. We all in this thing together, no matter how much you feel like we're not. And hopefully fuel prices will go down sometime soon. I said I don't want to be political or get into anything political, but let me get out here for my phone battery died. So one way or another it's gonna end. So I'll chop it up on the next video. Hopefully I can gain one or two subscribers, one or two friends from this. And if not, either way, man, be blessed.